Sir, I rise to support the private members' bill on setting up of regional rural banks in the country. The regional rural banks, to a very large extent, have been a kind of lifeline of credit to the rural people. We have seen that the experience of the cooperative banks has not been very good. The cooperative banks have been plagued by their own problems of mismanagement and so on. On the other hand, the scheduled commercial banks have been found wanting as far as understanding the local realities is concerned. In both these cases, they have been far below what the regional rural banks have actually been able to give to this country. Another important thing about the regional rural banks has been that they have got the local staff. They now have almost 2 decades of experience of working in the rural economy. They are well aware of the needs of the people in the rural areas. The linkage of rural people to regional rural banks is very strong. Therefore, what we find is that there is a kind of cultural coordination and strength in these banks. Sir, the regional rural banks have been suffering because of non prudent banking policies and practices that they have been following for a long time. However, there has been some change in their outlook in recent years. Now, the regional rural banks do not come under the category of loss making enterprises. They have now become the profit making institutions. There are regions in the country that are some of the most backward and the poorest regions of the country. There are also areas where concentration of business potential is not there so much as in other areas. The health and strength of these banks have also reflected the rural reality of the respective states and the regions. The regional rural banks are strong because of the local character. They reflect local realities. This character tends to get weakened if we amalgamate with them with other commercial banks. There is no problem of having supervisory institutions that can help these banks to move to more profitable and efficient banks. If we pool the strengths of many of these banks, it will be a far more effective medium. If we look at the international practices that are being followed, especially in the United States, we find that one of the strengths of the banking infrastructure in the United States is the focus on tremendous regional aspects. Of course, they have very highly and well regulated atmosphere in the sense that banks by and large conform to prudent practices. I personally feel that the system of regional rural banks would probably be the most effective system to cater to the financial needs of rural India. The financial needs of rural India are today diversifying. There is a much more diversified economy today in rural India where agriculture is no longer the mainstay. Even non farm activities or non agriculture activities are becoming equally crucial. Today, the types of financial services that are required in rural areas are going beyond mere credit and saving. Insurance is an extremely critical need of rural entrepreneurs, rural artisans, and so on. In the coming century, there is also much greater rural urban linkages that are coming up. There is tremendous rural strength in the kind of economic opportunities that are opening up. Sericulture, for example, is succeeding and succeeding only in areas that have got the condition for it. Similar is the case with power loom, and similar is the case with host of other activities that are emerging in rural areas. Therefore, if the banks are more local friendly, they will be able to contribute to the economy in rural areas in a greater way. In terms of management structures, the regional rural banks are gradually moving towards becoming sustainable financial institutions. But there is very little role that each stakeholder is playing in running of these banks. In terms of the legal status, I think it is very important that these banks becoming banking companies under the Banking Regulations Act In this regard, the Reserve Bank of India has to play the role of a regulator. I also feel that the RRBs can be critical as the agents of the insurance companies. This is something that has been tried in certain parts of India and it has been found fairly effective. These are some of the suggestions that I have given. I would assume that some of these would require regulatory changes and some of them would require some kind of a commitment from the government of India. With this, I support large parts of what has been said by the mover of the bill. This would go a long way. Honorable Chairperson, I rise to lend my views on the motion of thanks to the Honorable President for her address to the joint sitting of both the Houses of Parliament. Sir, in the parliamentary life, this is an occasion not just to review various problems being faced by the nation, but it also gives an opportunity to the government to spell out its policies and programs. We know that the problems of the nation are colossal and the solution of those problems is boundless. We are worried about a few problems in this country, right from corruption at high places to the rising cost of essential commodities. I believe that unless those problems are solved in a manner in which all decent people want those problems to be solved, I think the offer of cooperation and the demand of cooperation are a bit unreal. The President has stated in her speech that this budget session will be keenly watched by our people after the adjournments and shouting in the previous session. I sincerely believe that the time has come when we should ponder over the fact as to how we have acted in this House during the previous session. How have we ventilated or articulated the hopes and aspirations of the people whom we represent? Have we demonstrated enough faith in the institution to which we belong and in which we represent our electorate? Have we utilized the invaluable time to its best use for completing the scheduled business? The time has come for all of us to remind ourselves to utilize the time and our position for the purpose for which we have been elected. Let us understand our own position. Then only we can fruitfully utilize the time of the House for the betterment of our countrymen. We all know that agriculture plays a critical role in our economy as it provides livelihood to most of our people. It is heartening to hear from the Honorable President's address that India had record food grains harvest of more than 200 million tons last year. Our buffer stock has crossed an all-time high level. It has been aptly stated in the address that India has become the largest producer of milk and the second largest producer of rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables in the world. Our beloved country also happens to be the world's fifth largest producer of eggs and sixth largest producer of fish. Now coming to my state of Andhra Pradesh, I would like to submit that 6 districts of the Telangana region of the state are declared as drought-prone areas. The entire region is hit by drought every year. Agriculture is dependent only on lift irrigation. But the problem that is being faced by the people of this region is that the lift irrigation is not properly given and electricity supply is also very erratic. The region is facing a very bad situation today. The situation is so bleak today that no farmer is encouraging his son to choose farming as a profession. There are a lot of farmers who are migrating to the neighboring districts in search of jobs. It is a matter of regret that the government has no well-conceived plan to save the plight of agriculture. The government should know that the farmers are not getting remunerative price for their produce. That is the reason why the farmers have been facing great difficulty for their livelihood. If the country is to be saved, then the government has to act in right earnest for the welfare of farmers. I would now like to invite the attention of the House to one of the issues of price rise which concerns the billions of people of our country. This issue has been discussed many times in this House. But what do we see today? The prices of kerosene oil, gas, soap, and vegetable oil have gone up. The price rise affects generally the destitute people in the society. Why are the prices going up? If the commodities and goods are not available in the society, the prices will naturally go up. People talk about the public sector and the private sector. I think the House would realize that the overwhelming part of the private sector is the private sector of the peasants in India. The pattern of society that we look forward to is a socialist pattern of society which is classless and casteless. Full employment is an objective of every kind of economy in this world. But then we are not able to find out whether we are proceeding towards greater employment or greater unemployment. These are two different and distinct problems. We should not confuse unemployment with partial employment or underemployment or seasonal employment at all.